Well, like China's got a huge population collapse problem.
Really?
Yeah.
China, you actually get penalized if you have more than one kid.
No,
are you being serious?
No,
Is that
they
like
cut that off.
No, see, this is like, so part of it is just like, we're operating on things that were true in the past, but are no longer true. So China did have a one-child policy, but, like about 10 years ago, they changed it to a two-child policy. And then a few years ago, they changed it to a three-child policy. And birth rate kept plummeting the whole time. Lowest birth rate ever last year.
Really?
Yeah, China's birth rate right now is 40% below replacement. Wow. I don't think we're headed into a big recession. I'd say like maybe a mild recession, but it could be a mild recession that lasts for a couple of years, something like that, you know. But the thing that's hard to predict are like, you know, like if there's like a war between China and Taiwan or something like that, that would send the world into a recession, you know, and you know that's a possibility. You know, if there's some like big event, you know, but like, and there is a challenge in China right now with,
It's scary. The Taiwan-China.
The Taiwan-China stuff is worrying.
That's scary.
There is, independent of that, there is, there's kind of a looming, bust in the, property market in China, where there's just been, they've overbuilt, apartments and buildings in general. There's just too many primary housing units in China, which seems crazy because a lot of people in China, but China has overbuilt primary housing units and people have speculated on primary housing units, just like the U.S. did in the lead up to 2008. So in the U.S., lead up to 2008, the U.S. was building primary housing units at twice the rate of household formation. So if you're making houses twice as fast as families are forming, then obviously something got to give. And we're doing that in the U.S. for a while. And so China's been doing that as well, but even more. So that's a correction that's going to happen. But ultimately the Chinese economy will be gigantic and is gigantic, and will recover from this. But there's going to be probably a temporary, recession in China driven by, an overallocation of resources towards, construction.
It's a very tough question because we do not know the true number of China's real growth figure and maybe some other numbers. And we have to trust and rely on the official figures, even though many people speculate and doubt that after the pandemic, those numbers may not be so accurate. And my own speculation is that in the past 2 to 3 years, the real number on average might be around 2%, even though the official number is close to 5%. And if my speculation is correct, I think it might be more reasonable to expect the growth rate between 3 to 4% in the years to come, for next 3 to 5 years. But we don't know, and I think the official number will always be around 5%.
Okay, very comforting. Okay.
I think the government has done a lot to stabilize the sector. However, what we are experiencing is a collapse of a shadow financial system. Therefore, even though it might be possible to stabilize the sales. However, I think the developers will continue to deleverage. And in this sense, it will still be a big drag factor for the macroeconomy overall. I think the government has two challenges. And the most important and structural challenge is to put in place a sound framework to regulate the shadow fiscal system and the shadow financial institutions. As far as this reform can be established, the government can be confident to stimulate the economy without the worry that the debt level may go up too far. However, I do not think the government has already a systematic solution on how to put in place such a regulatory framework. Therefore, their efforts to stimulate the economy will be very opportunistic. And in the end, I do not think they can be very confident to deliver what they have promised, just as what they did in past year or even 2 years earlier.
Okay, I think both of them essentially gave the same answer.